The siren myth drew me in because it is such a fascinating and strange premise, and it has so much to do with being a singer and what kind of power that gives you over somebody who's attending to you. Myths are really these kinds of empty forms that accommodate a lot of different things and are constantly being refilled according to who's on the earth at that time. And it just made me wonder what it would be like to be in that position of not having a stable identity and trying to pin down something that is essentially, by its own nature, not to be pinned down. I did just surround myself with books, and the further I got into that, the more interesting little tidbits I found. This is what the sirens were in this century, and this is what they are now, and this is what Freud says about them, or this is what Homer said about them in the text that we all know. Hither come. What they're singing, what they're offering is knowledge, which is very appealing to someone like Odysseus. That sort of transforms into time, into, well, they're just beautiful mermaids lying on the beach and they're offering pleasure. Odysseus. There's a lot of interesting information about the sirens versus the muses.
Urania, muse of the stars.
Often this is just something invoked by medieval scholars. The sirens are entities whose goal is just to capture you with the sensual beauty of their song, and they represent pleasurable vices and lust and dangerous sweetness, whereas the muses also are possessors of beautiful music and wondrous, irresistible voices, but they're there to educate you and to help you create work, and they're sort of productive in a way that the sirens are destructive. We depend on these stories and they tell us something, but we don't really exactly know what they mean, and that's a really interesting thing to explore. I kind of had these characters in my mind who were sort of taking shape, so I knew there was a character who was essentially going through my same process, who was investigating and reading books.
There's a third component to the voice, in addition to logos and phonos.
My character is named Polyxo.
Muthos, the language of myth.
I bid you sing of Aganthus, taking up your lyre.
Muthos signifies a kind of formulated speech, the way to weave a spell, the way to tell a story, to cant, to hex.
She is the siren who is really trying to get off the island and trying to figure out if this is possible. And Surely, she thinks, there must be a way, and she has decided that the way to discover this is to read and research. Pytho is sort of her kind of younger sister siren.
They sailed past.
She is thrilled and content to be a siren.
That's funny.
She can't conceive of any other way
I mean, isn't it strange?
because she doesn't really have the mental apparatus to understand the past or the future or the present. She's sensual and beguiling and is genuinely in love with all of the sailors when they wash up dead and quickly gets over it.
Don't you want to understand?
And then the third siren, Phano, is the most classical siren, a sphinx, a kind of terrifying figure who doesn't communicate in any recognizably human way, and just was kind of present for us to realize that essentially any interpretation of the sirens is just gonna come from somebody's imagination.
Your ship. Bring to a halt. So that of us twain.
And the three sirens are in an evolutionary process. So Phano is the endpoint. That's what a siren is, something blank that can be imprinted that doesn't give us anything of its own inner mind. Polyxo is heading that way. She doesn't know this, maybe she suspects it, and is trying to stave that off and cling to her sense of identity. Pytho is furthest down on the ladder. She learns to speak in the course of the play, and she learns to read, and we see her sort of becoming a little bit more questioning, that perhaps she will become the next Polyxo once Polyxo has joined Phano.